Rogers, and I have the privilege of being with Deb Maybury today. Hi, Deb. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. I was just out cycling, and I don't know if I have still the mark to prove it, but it's been a great day. How about
Fantastic.
you?
I'm feeling wonderful, and I'm really grateful that you have some time to share a little bit about your book, Unlock the Door. Please share a little bit about yourself and why did you write this book?
Okay, so this is the book, Unlock the Door Beyond Sexual Abuse, right? It originally came out in 2013. Why did I write the book? I had no intentions of getting involved in this topic. Um, and I had finished my goals for the year in 2011, and I decided there was a connection. I knew there was a connection between everything I was doing, all the personal growth. We've spoken about that many times, and I couldn't put it together. So I actually tried to connect with the universe that night, in a kind of demanding way, saying, "Why am I doing this? I'm ready. Tell me I'm ready. I'm ready. What is the vision that you have for me? I need some directive." To come down and strike me on the head. And sure enough, I started to have a series of flashbacks about being sexually violated as a young girl. And I had never had flashbacks like that previously. And and I was trying to shake that off and forget it. And in the back of my mind, as I'm trying to survive, I'm also trying to establish what is going on. And I know spirit. I know it's letting me know, but it didn't seem to answer my question. It seemed to take me back. So in order to shake it off, I jumped out of bed. I went to my computer and I opened up Word and I wrote unlock the door. Or I wrote Debbie unlock the door, because that's what I had been told when I actually locked out a perpetrator. So I went back to bed after writing. I wrote I sat there, I wrote the chapter. I bawled, Dave. Oh my gosh. You know those projectile tears? I bawled and bawled, and I'd never done that like that. And I went back to bed and I said, "Oh, you better tell me what this is about." And I started to have then a series of what I'll call visions, not flashbacks. There's a different feeling, but the visions were all about, I was writing this book and it was about sexual abuse, but not, and it was going to be a compilation book. It is a compilation book, but not about like all the dirty details. Though people were free to tell their story, that's not what the directive was. I was directed to interview people so they could share their journey, and share it in such a way that they could serve other people. So it's like, I'm a little bit ahead of you on my healing journey. So this is what I've encountered. This was my experience, and and the people, the heart like felt like I'm in touch with most of the people still. So it's going to be 8 years, crazy 8 years in June that came out, and I'm still in touch with a lot of those people. And wow, if they've really done amazing things. The majority of those people have all gone on to help and serve other people after sharing their story. So that's sort of was my journey and why I wrote it, because it was not a plan, not at all.
Wow. Okay. So, as you know, most books are never read. What if we had to distill it down? And I think you've just done a great job on why you wrote it. If you were to distill it down into a main takeaway, would you be able to share a main takeaway, or is it too broad that different people take away things? Or maybe
Well,
you could share a little bit about that.
I can tell you what the overall message that I received, the overall insights,
Hmm.
and it's the same thing. And it's actually it's in here, and I wrote it right here at the top, where it says, "You're not alone."
Right.
So when people read the book, a lot of the times they have never talked about being sexually violated, or they've talked about it but very privately or isolated. Maybe they shared it with a friend, or maybe they tried to do some work with a therapist or that type of thing. But a lot of people, you don't stand in line at the grocery store and say, "Hi, how are you doing today? I was sexually violated."
Hmm.
People don't have the words to articulate it, to express themselves, because it's not taught. But when people read the book, and there are a fair number of people that read it, I would love another million people to read it, because the the feedback that I received, I just got goosebumps.
Oh,
everywhere.
you just threw it out to the universe, and that's a little bit about what this interview is about. Is that perhaps another 100,000, half a million, million, 5 million may read it. So that gives
Yeah.
me goosebumps too, because that was my intention behind having this conversation today too.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate it. There are so many people that are violated. Now, in say like in North America, some of the European countries, I know more about statistics, but basically, 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 to 7 boys, depending on the study, is sexually violated before their 18th birthday. And there are, we've had the conversation in some languages, there aren't even words to define that, to explain that. And yet, um, that is what is so important, is to have the words, have the education, have the knowledge. And the number one thing, Dave, is to know that you're not alone. If you've been violated, you are not alone, and people keep it very secret. I know for myself as a really young little girl that I didn't know even how to say that. Like, we're not taught the language. And then later on, when I did try to tell a couple people as a teenager between 18 and 21, it was just brought like, "Ooh!" Like they didn't say don't talk about it or anything, but when you get that body language, then everything that you felt about being uncomfortable about it, or feeling dirty, or feeling ashamed, or like just not knowing where to put that, when you get that type of a feedback, then of course there's more tightness and more secrets to push down. And we start to think, or not we, but some people start to think that it's their fault, they're guilty, they're shame, when no, like it's always the person who violates you. It's always their, they won't take it, but it's their responsibility. It's it was their responsibility to not do it, and they chose to do it. That hierarchy, either in age, in social status, the family structure, it's always somebody above who's violating somebody below in any, most types of abuse, right? It can go the other way.
Yes.
There could be a female that violates a male.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I've learned. It really surprised me, the dynamics of it, because traditionally, okay, it's the man violating the little girl.
Yes.
Right. But that barely touches the surface. There's I've seen everything, brother, sister, uncle, nephew, like coach, like every combination thereof, across the genders, like it's all there. So whoever you are listening to this, if you've ever been violated, you're definitely not alone, and reach out, because there is support out there. It's finding the right therapist to work with, somebody who is comfortable talking about, if you get in with the therapist and you say, want to talk about, sexually violated, they say, oh dear, oh poor you, like they really are caving it down. Like, it's like, that's not the person you want to, that I think you want to talk to. You want to talk to somebody that can hold the space, not take some of your energy away from you when you've already lost so much.
Right. No, it's beautiful feedback, Deb. I really appreciate it. And if somebody's hearing this, I love the message of you're not alone, and you're not. And there are people to reach out. Deb is one of them. And it's an opportunity for you to release and to heal. And that's a little bit, again, part of today's conversation. I want to just shift.
Can I just say the Gatehouse? So in Toronto, the Gatehouse, it's a place on the lakeshore. Right now, everything is online, and it's going to be online for quite some time. Like I have a group this evening. There are groups for men, groups for women, and then there are groups that are merged, the genders together. So whatever gender it is, there's a group there for you.
Excellent. We'll put the link of the Gatehouse down below in the comment section. And if you have feedback or questions, feel free to ask questions and add a comment, and of course, we would love you to subscribe to the channel. Let's just ask you a little question that we project into 2021. And if we can get this book into someone's hands in the next 6 to 12 months, can you please give me 1 or 2 names, please?
Who I would like to have it out there? Well, listen, the king of the whole thing, and I actually, met him, and there wasn't much of an interest, but I'll tell you, somebody like Jack Canfield, and Rick Hansen, right? those are two people that have distributed books around the world. And I think there are like 500 million copies out there of various books. And what they are distributing or overseeing, because they certainly don't write them all, and they haven't written them all for a very long time,
Or you
is
mean Mark Victor Hansen?
Mark Victor Hansen.
Right. MVH.
Yes.
Chicken Soup from the Soul.
Yes.
Jack
Versus.
Canfield. The team around Chicken Soup for the Soul. If they're hearing, if we can get this into their hands, you would be a happy lady.
Oh, I think there would be a lot of people that would benefit from that, and certainly I would. I wouldn't deny that. Uh, you don't write a book to sit on a shelf. Well, actually, I did that. I did that with my first one, because I have another book called "What Is Your Teenage Daughter Afraid Of?" And I actually got a sponsor, and then I distributed the books. So I would love, even if anybody would like to sponsor the book, a place like the Gatehouse, and I know a number of places that, wow, if I could say, here are 1,000 books, give them to all your people. That would be amazing as well. Certainly, I would love this book to be out there. It's a good book. The feedback is good. The writing is good. The it was edited and edited and edited, and the stories were maintained. So the other thing that's really unique, it's just not that people submitted stories, Dave. It's that I had a plan. There are probably only about 5 or 6 done that way in their short chapters. But there was a directive of what to do and how to accomplish that, everything. I was listing that night the questions that I need to find the answers to. So it's a back and forth. So I will pose a question to an individual, and this was all recorded, so it's word for word. Then they would answer. What advice would you give at this time? And how did you manage this? And, and what was it that your father said in that situation, or your mother, and who supported you? And so people can not only see that they're not alone in the violations, but they're not alone in how people reacted, where the support was and where the downside was, where you had the hope. You finally told your parent, and your parent says, shh, don't ever tell that. Like, just forget it, move on. You'll get over it. Get over it. That's the greatest myth ever, because when you pack that down, that's just like imploding. You just keep putting it down there. That turns into dis-ease. Almost everybody, like serious anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, all these things. This is something that is very, very common when people have a history of various types of abuses, and certainly sexual abuse. And I always say the foreword is worth the price, and the price is actually pretty low. It's available Kindle as well.
I was going to ask the question, because that's actually something that stands out about the book also, is the foreword. You want to share a little bit about who and how that came about?
Yeah. So again, that night there were like about 5 names that it was that person. It was going to be that person or somebody equivalent to be in the book. So right away, the foreword, to me, it was Gabor Mate. He's Canadian and American best-selling author. He is Canadian. He's lived in Vancouver. He was a medical doctor. I believe he's retired from that now. He pretty much does speaking engagements now, and he specializes in addictions. And his name just came. It was him. I had read one of his book, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. I had read part of it, and I knew that was a compilation book of sorts, kind of, So I knew it was him. I was just told I knew it was him. I didn't know how I was going to get him. I didn't know if he would be interested or anything, but he was always there, that he was the one. And so what had happened is the first or second person I interviewed, Charmaine Loverin, who we've had on Pray Love, she was like, Deb, when is this book going to be done? Around 14 months or something. And I said, well, I'm almost there. The editing's going really well. It's coming along. I don't need any more people. It's 39 people that contributed to unlock the door. And she said, well, what do you need? What do you need? What can I do to help? And I said, can you just please go and get Gabor? Go and get him. And I gave her 3 chapters that were edited. They were almost ready. And she contacted him. She reached out to him, sent him the chapters. And he said right away, yes, in principle. And he said, it's just timing. And she came back to me and said, well, what's your timing like? I said, you tell him that I will wait for him. That's how important it is, that I want him. And I feel the emotion coming up on that, because I knew how credible the book was going to be just by having his name. And, he wasn't that long doing it. He was under a month doing it. and he talks about, and that's one of the things backing the last point, is that he says in that forward, so he worked on the streets, Vancouver, as a medical doctor for 12 years, east side, all people, addictions, and that's what he specializes in. But he said, you know what, there's not one female in 12 years, Dave, like 12 years, not 12 months or 12 weeks, not one female that he ever interviewed that had not been sexually violated. And the vast number of men, if not sexually violated, they had certainly been physically abused and emotionally damaged, for sure. So this has expertise knowing about addictions. So that's another symptom of a lot of people that struggle with addictions, or like too much, not just bad ones, but people perceive, oh, he's a hard worker, he never stops working, never, he's always working. Well, that's not healthy. There's something going on there, right?
Right.
I can't achieve, I'm not enough. That's a theme with a lot of people that have been violated, because they've been, I'll say, they've been harmed so deep inside, because sexual violation is different than emotional abuse or physical abuse. Not that you want to sign up for any of them,
Right.
but when you've been sexually violated, you've had all those abuses and more. And, he speaks about that in the foreword too. And he also has what's his other book about the body? The Body Knows the Score, I think it is. And he makes those connections as a medical doctor, and then working with mental health issues with people for so long, he makes those connections in a way that he has such credibility as a medical doctor, and over such a long period of time, he's made those links, and he speaks on that. He's a great speaker. And you know what he did one time? It was a friend of mine from school. I get a little excited, right? There's this friend of mine at school who, she didn't know who I was. She didn't know I was the Deb Maybury writing this. And we're sitting in class one time, and something came up around, a teacher or somebody said, oh, in Deb's book or something like that, as when I was going back to be a psychotherapist, right? And she looked at me, her name is Andrea. She goes, oh my God, you're that Deb Maybury? She said, do you have any idea? I was at a presentation with Gabor Mate in Toronto, and he said that's one of the best books ever written, if not the best book on sexual abuse.
All right. So how can people get it?
Okay, well, I mean, it's on Amazon.
Yep.
It's on both the .com and .ca. Now, you can read a quarter of that book, and I can't remember which it is, if it's .com or .ca.
Right.
One just has a picture, you click on it and there's nothing, but the other one has the link, and you can go and you can read the book. So you can actually read a quarter of it absolutely for free. I always keep it down. I don't know, the price fluctuates a little bit, but I had it around 20, and I think they pop it up to like 22, 24. It fluctuates. I don't have any control over that part. And it's also a Kindle, and $4.99 maybe as a Kindle product. And you can also do a sort of I can't remember the term, but it's like a borrowing Kindle. So you can go and read. Like, I have so many people that go in and they read it, and I might get 20 cents royalty or something. And a person can read, either the whole book or almost the entire book for a very low price. So, financially, if you can't afford a hard copy, you can get it. You can get it, and you can test it out. You can test drive it. One thing I'll say about it, with people, that anybody that I know that purchases it, or gets it elsewhere, is some people start and they don't put it down. I know 2 people that sat and they read it. It's 420 pages. Okay. And the one person who read that, he contacted me right away. He said, Deb, that just changed my life. Talk about goosebumps, because he knew he wasn't alone. But what I'll say in reading it is, you can read the introduction, right? It's safe. The foreword is kind of, wow, it is, but it's not too triggering, but it still may be okay for some people. You can read mine. It starts in, so I've done it. Mine is just a situation. It's not a whole bunch of stuff coming up. The next one, it's the same. And then it starts to get in. And I also have it divided into, okay, this happened in the family. This was another situation. These are some of the things I went and studied in terms of healing modalities, right? So you can jump around in the book if there is some triggering going on, and just remember to ground and and breathe through it if you are triggered. And there are more gentle stories than other ones.
All right. Let me just switch the gear a little bit again. And what advice would you give to aspiring or new authors?
Right.
Good tip.
I that reminds me, right? I have a course that's like 75% done that I wanted to put out there about writing. And it's not about, grammar. It's not about writing a fiction. It's a non-fiction idea. But it's so important to practice the muscle and write. But I can tell you that a sense of urgency and and being accountable, having a coach, hiring a coach, somebody like you or me that has written the book, that knows the up and downs and knows what's behind a lot of the time when it's like, I have a mental block, or I can't do this, or should I do this? It's like, whoa, wait a second here. That's deeper. That's deeper than that. But sit down if you can, every day, every other day, whenever it is on the weekend. When I wrote my first book, I took Fridays off from work. I was able to do that as a business owner, and work around it. But every Friday, I was focused on writing that book. With Unlock the Door, it was a much huger task. And the only way I was going to get that done was to work on it every moment, create the space for it. Make sure if you're writing a lot, that you're exercising, reward yourself, go out for a walk, come back and forth, but you really need to sit down, get a comfortable place that is your place to write, and just do it. Tell people, not like, oh, I'm working on a book. No, I have a book that I'm doing right now. It's about this. And, really own it. And one of the things that I did was even before Unlock the Door was done, there was a contest, 99 designs. I set up a contest. It's different graphic designers. I knew the title, I knew the tagline, I knew I wanted some yellows in there, light browns, and basically white, clean white, and described what the book was, put it out there. I think it was $400, and I got the cover. So I had that cover sitting right there. That was done. And I had a couple other, I always have a couple little tabs here around as a reminder. And I'll tell you one thing, in order to get it done, it is a commitment. I was directed to do it by spirit. So Dave, there wasn't
You're giving some
an
great
out.
tips, though. Fantastic tips. I think what you've just shared is fantastic. If somebody follows a few of your tips, they're definitely going to write. They're definitely going to have a place that they can whether it's going to channel or whether it's going to allow them to really nurture a writing mindset, a physiology, a way of doing it. Fantastic tips, Deb.
Right, for sure. And getting a coach, right? I've worked with 4 or 5 people, not a lot, but just to support. So then they're accountable. Again, they're accountable, send in the work. And not everybody can type. I'm not a great typist. Not everybody, has the great grammar skills or spelling, all of these. It doesn't matter. Those are little hiccups in the way. I recorded it, like just with the microphone. There's so many different devices you can use your phone now if you want to, really. And then I sent it away, and it came back as a transcription. And then I did that was just talking in circles, and picked it out. And so you can talk your book. I actually worked with a man, and he still didn't finish it. Frustrating, but I interviewed him, and we went back and forth. I've done that with a few people now. Another woman, a great book. Like you can do it. It's setting up your environment so you can do it. When you're going to plant a garden, you don't throw the seeds on top of the grass, right? You put the foundation in place. So it's almost like you can't not do it. You set it up, so you must do it. There's a sense of urgency, and you can get it done. Anybody can write a book. Start small. Don't start with 420 pages. It's a marathon. Start with something that's manageable.
These are great tips, and I appreciate your time today. Anyone who's learned something today, please like it, add a comment. We'll put a number of the links below for you to be able to get a copy of Unlock the Door by Deb Maybury. And I guess the way that I like to finish this up is, 2020, has there been a movie, a song, or something that has really influenced you and has left you with a experience that you want to quickly share with our listeners as a bonus question for tonight?
Well, let me share this because it's what jumps into my mind. In 2020, I recorded a song. Nobody knows this, so I'm sort of outing it, or very few people know it. And the song is about suicide. And so many people who have been sexually violated um, contemplate suicide at some point in their life. And the song is about somebody who didn't have this experience, but they had another experience. And I'm working on a video, and the idea is to get this done for the end of December, the beginning of January. If you're feeling alone, whatever it is, any mental health issues, um, you're not alone. And maybe if you write a song, you confide in somebody, you can move forward, and there'll be some type of healing, because there are people that care about you deeply, and you can overcome some of the things that you just can't even imagine what to do with them. You can create new meaning, and that's what this song, it's called Hometown. And in writing it, it helped me heal a little bit. In having the courage to record it, it helps me in another level. And to share it, that goes into service. And when we can serve other people, there's nothing better than knowing that you made a little bit of a difference in somebody's life. And what they don't know is they also make a huge difference in our life.
Well, that's a great way to bring it to completion, Deb. Thank you so very much for your time. I look forward to hearing the song and celebrating the next launch of your next song. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it so much. You're really doing the work here. You're doing some amazing service for other people. So I really appreciate it. And if anybody wants to reach out again, deb@debmaybury.com. That's my email address.
We'll be putting that down in the comments. And thank you so much. And
thank you so much.